Welcome to Holistic Health for Happy Kids, the podcast where we dive into the root causes of children's health challenges and explore natural solutions to help little ones thrive. I'm Lisa, a passionate pediatric naturopath and mum of 3, dedicated to empowering parents with practical tips and expert insights to raise healthy, happy kids. Each episode will unpack common childhood health concerns like allergies, eczema, fussy eating, and gut health, and share evidence-based advice to support your child's wellness naturally. Let's create a generation of thriving children, one holistic step at a time. Thank you for joining me on this journey. So welcome to this week's episode of Holistic Health for Happy Kids. And today I'm joined by Alisha from Naughty Naturopath Mum to learn all about flower essences and how they work and how she ended up being Naughty Naturopath Mum. So thank you and welcome to the podcast today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Lisa. It's great to be on here.
That's good. So I've been following you for a long time. I use a lot of your products with my children. But for those who don't know you, tell me a bit about yourself and how you became Naughty Naturopath Mum.
So I was a naturopath in clinic for a number of years, and then health food stores as well as clinics. So kind of did naturopathy from about the age of 19 as my job and studying. So I feel like at 47, I've lived it for so long, and I've never been your typical naturopath as far as what I think people imagine a naturopath to be. I've always felt, and that's just from my personality, a very anti-authority type person, very kind of, oh, well, if you tell me I can't do that, then I'm going to do that sort of type person. So I guess I was a little bit naughty always, but also I wanted to stand outside of what a naturopath would maybe come across as or look like on social media. So when I stepped out of clinic work and began my e-commerce store, which was focusing purely on the flower essences that I loved working so much with in clinic, I had to come up with the name, and I actually was called Alisha's Australian Bush Flower Essences, but I didn't have a website. I just had a Facebook page because this is back in, olden days, where you could run a small business through a Facebook page very unprofessionally. And one of the main suppliers of flower essences kind of got in touch with me saying, you can't use that name because that's kind of taken. And I went, oh, that was a bit naughty of me then, wasn't it? And then I thought, well, that's perfect because that's who I am. I'm naughty, I'm a naturopath, and I'm a mum. And that's how it came about.
Just a perfect name. And so have you used flower remedies that whole time since you were 19?
Yes, before actually. My mum took us to a naturopath slash homeopath slash nurse as our health practitioner as I was growing up. So I'd been taking essences from about probably 10 years old. And they were mainly the Bach flower remedies and a lot of homeopathic remedies. So I think I was very connected to energy medicine from an early age because I saw the benefits and the shifts all through like teen years. And so when I went into health food store work, sort of as an apprentice naturopath while I was doing my studies, my mentor at that store had the full range of Bach and ABFE. So I was making flower essences up for customers from the age of 19. Yeah.
Wow. It's funny, so I was originally an engineer.
Oh, wow.
Whenever
Pivot.
yeah, I know. Whenever I went to actually study naturopathy, I remember talking to one of my best friends, and she was going, "Yeah, now you should do nutrition, not naturopathy, because if you do naturopathy, you're going to have to study flower essences, and you're just going to think that's the greatest crock of anything." And when, yeah, you're probably right. And then
Yeah.
fast forward when I started to use flower essences with adults
Yeah.
and children, and saw like miraculous turnarounds. I
Mm.
I am
the biggest advocate for flower essences that there
Yes.
really are.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Were there any kind of particular big aha moments for you with flower essences that really made them such a hero for you?
Yes, there's quite the story. This was while I was still a student naturopath. So I think it was my first year. So we're looking at 1997. And I did flower essences in my first year, but it was second semester. So I'd sort of been really understanding them more than I ever had beforehand. And our final, I guess, assessment piece or assignment was to create our own new flower essence. So I went on a trip with my mum and my sister to this very special place to us called Binnaburra, which is a national park inland from the Gold Coast. So we have been camping there since we were young, and we was staying there, and we did a walk, and I found this flower I hadn't seen before. So I went, yep, this is the one I'm using for my assignment. I'd asked my mum to bring up a glass bowl because I was coming from Brisbane, she was coming from the Gold Coast, and in my share house, we didn't have the kind of glass bowl I was envisioning to make this flower essence. I had in my head this lovely clear glass bowl. And I knew mum had one. So I was saying, hey, do you remember that glass bowl? And she goes, yeah, yeah. I said, bring that to Binnaburra. That's what I'll make the flower essence in. And so I brought the flowers back to our little cabin, and she brought out the glass bowl, and it was not the one I thought. It was brown glass. It wasn't the one in my head. I was so like, oh, upset because it was also a bowl that had come from a neighbor's house, and we are no longer in contact with that neighbor. I know this all sounds a bit weird, but keep with me. So I was like, I don't like the energy that this bowl might contain. Oh well, oh well. So I went through with made the flower essences. My sister, my mum, and myself all had a bottle to take away. We took that blend for a couple of weeks, and oh my goodness, all three of us can tend to be a bit more pessimistic than, glass half full, or a bit can be glass half empty. Well, I was definitely back then. And this essence kind of really brought out the whole, oh, everything's going to be okay. Okay. Conditions aren't perfect, but, we make the best of things. We were really noticing that about ourselves. And then when I finally found that flower, that's exactly what the essence was for. So, just as far as an aha moment, like how in tune essences can be with what, like, I obviously needed to attract that energy at that time so that emotion could be shifted for me, and it gave me an example in the making of the essence as well as how we felt afterwards. So I felt that was really incredible, and I got like an A+ to that assignment. And I think I knew then that flower essences would always be a part of my clinic work. Once I graduated, it was too important for me to not address the emotions of someone in their healing journey, because I love my supplements, I love my herbs, but you can't sort of hand all this stuff off to a person and go change your life. We have to change so much in the energy emotional space to be able to heal and move on. So the compliance of giving a flower essence blend as well as lifestyle changes or supplements, I found was a lot better if they had their own little custom blend.
Yeah, just to give them the nudge.
Yeah, yeah, because, and it's that old adage of just because we know what to do doesn't mean we're always going to do it. And that's where the health shifts can stay stuck for a lot of people. So, really working out what's the emotions and energies holding them in a place where they're not being able to break through to heal is, yeah, has always been my aha fascination moment with the essences.
Yeah. I've never made my own essence. I think part of my problem is that I've been in Australia for 20, more than 25 years or something, but I just don't know the Australian flowers the way that
Yes.
I know the flowers in Ireland. So
Yeah.
with the back flowers, I know all of those flowers.
Yeah.
Like, I can pick them. I can visualize gorse and where it grows and think, yeah, that's a bit depressing.
Yes.
I get all of that, but I wish I was more familiar with the Australian ones.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
a bit of a
And
shame.
there's just so many.
Yeah, just endless.
So many. We work with 170, and they're just the ones, they're just native to Western Australia. So we use the Living Essences range, and yeah, when you factor in all the different flower essences you can make and buy here in Australia, it's, yeah, I don't know how you'd get your head around knowing or using them all.
Yeah. And so I hope that you can give a better explanation of this than I can, but
Yeah.
do you have any easy way to explain actually how flower remedies work? Because I really struggle. I just kind of say, just trust me.
Yes, I know. Um, yes, look, there's a lot of different ways I have explained this in the past, as you could imagine. I'll stick with the one that I think, I would want if I was coming into the world of flower essences for the first time and just thinking, what the hell is this? So I'll stick with that very kind of ground level explanation. So, given that we are made up of energy, every single atom in our body is vibrating and creating energy all the time. We're not actually solid matter, we are a bunch of vibrating molecules. So, another thing to remember as I'm explaining this is emotions, which we feel and pass through us all the time in reaction to what we come across, or internal activated emotions, is literally energy in motion. So emotions are just energy. They can either get stuck or move through. So what flower essences do, they are a vibration of their own, and we distill that vibration into the water. So we soak the flowers, the energy from that flower goes into the water. It's then preserved with a small amount of alcohol or glycerin or whatever you're wanting to preserve it with. Generally brandy here in Australia. We use cane neutral, sugar cane neutral ethanol, which is sort of the less reactive out of all the preservatives that I've found and easier to take for the kids. And what that does, that holds that vibration in the water. So we're adding a different vibration than what our body is actually experiencing to our body. So what that does is it shifts the energy to meet the vibration we've just added. That can then clear stuck emotion. And what that does, that movement of that old energy that may have been stuck somewhere, that then starts to change behavior. Well, it changes thoughts first and then behavior. So it's like a domino effect of an emotion shifts due to a shift in our vibration, a thought changes, and then a behavior changes. So we take flower essences to help us with all sorts of things, and it's going to be a different experience for most people what that first domino needs to fall to create the changes thereafter. So that's why we only prescribe flower essences based on emotions, nothing physical, because they're not working on the physical body, they're only working on the energy body. And again, when people go, how can water hold vibration? Well, I sometimes will show my followers on my socials the way that the water can change depending on the vibration given to it. So there's so many beautiful places to see that. But if like a little drop falls into a still water, it
Mm.
creates those ripples outwards. That's literally just vibration. That's energy moving. So similarly, the flower that grows under whatever conditions it grows meets a certain type of action, and then that vibration is then held in the water when you make a flower essence and pass into the body by taking it orally.
Mm.
So it's the same as if we can also change our vibrations with exercise, with meditation. We can shift vibrations without using flower essences, but they're just a very handy kind of stronger way to shift things when needed. I
Mm.
hope that
Yeah,
helps.
it's better than my trust me explanation.
Okay. It's a bit
And
lengthy, but I could talk about this all day. It's very hard to be succinct when you're talking things that, even we don't quite understand the full impact of how vibration therapy works on the brain and everything. It's quite, yeah.
and the fact that we don't understand it doesn't diminish the facts. Like people always say, but I don't understand how that could work. So you don't need to
Yeah.
understand how it
Yeah.
works really, because
Yeah.
knowledge is evolving every day. The amount
Yeah.
of knowledge that we have compared to 20 years ago. So
Yeah, well, exactly. And as far as we've come with all the science and study so far, they're still so unaware of how much of the brain actually works and how much, we are the most complicated machine that we might not ever work out in our lifetime. So you do have to trust a certain element that, there's stuff going on that we actually can't explain sometimes.
yeah. I love giving fluorescence to kids, partly because they're so effective, but partly because they're so easy to take. So apart from
Yes.
the little taste of brandy, which I think is a very small taste when you put it into,
Yeah.
but some kids really love taking fluorescences now. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, are
Yeah.
you just picking up that little bit of brandy and you love it? But do you want to explain what the difference is between like a fluorescence and then, an essential oil or a tincture? Because often the root material will be sort of similar for each of those.
Yeah, exactly. So, a flower essence has no physical part of the plant left once we take it. So we're literally just taking the water it's soaked in with that preservative of brandy or alcohol. Um, so I guess it's a lot less reactive because if people are sort of allergic to anything, this is sort of the safest kind of plant medicine to take because you're literally taking water with a vibration. So your herbal tinctures, for example, are actually the physical parts of the plant distilled into alcohol. Like you're actually taking some chamomile when you take the chamomile herbal tincture. So that physical part of the flower is in the herbal tincture. And then essential oils is literally just the volatile oil extracted from the flower. So we all know, I guess, rose essential oil. It's actually the oil from the petals have been distilled, and you're taking, well, you wouldn't take that, hopefully. You would smell that essential oil in your space, in your air, or on your skin, because that's quite a strong, it's probably the strongest part of the plant, the oil. And taking that straight is not good for your microbiome at all. So that's why essential oils are generally just used in diffusers or as in creams and balms and that sort of thing. So essential oils is literally the physical oil of the flower. A herbal tincture is the whole part usually of the leaf, the root, or the flower extracted into liquid. And then your flower essences is just the vibration of the flower in the water.
Yeah, so great for those super sensitive kids, which we see a lot of who, or like
Yes.
an adults who just react to everything. It's really
Yes.
good to start them with a flower essence.
Definitely. And people do worry about like the alcohol preserving, but it's there's a lot less alcohol in, say, our flower essences compared to probably kombucha or baked goods or some fruits because there's
Yeah.
organic, naturally occurring alcohols in a lot of things. And yeah, so we keep ours to 0.02% per 7 drops. So it's safe for breastfeeding and while pregnant, and it's not going to show up in your blood. So it's certainly safe for kids, but we say from ages 2 and up for our flower essences. Yeah.
Because I always remember reading somewhere about, I don't know if it was in relation to flower essences, but basically a ripe banana with
Yeah.
more alcohol than whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Exactly, because the fermentation of those of the fructose is going to give you more alcohol than what you drop in your mouth from a flower essence usually. And your herbal tinctures or a cough syrup, way more alcohol than in a flower essence. So yeah.
I went through a phase probably about 5 years ago of just putting the flower essences into water, not brandy and water. And I really feel that they didn't work as well, that
No,
just
yeah.
needed that preservation.
Yeah, they need something that energy, the vibration needs something to hold it in the water,
Yeah.
definitely. So you have to preserve it with something unless you're taking it then and there. Like you literally just make it and take it. After an hour or so, you're not going to have that vibration still in the water.
Mm. And so if I just came to your house one day and I said, make me a custom blend,
Yeah.
how would you decide what would be in it? Would you just be talking to me? Would you do any like pulse readings? Like how would you actually come up with what should be in it for me?
Yeah, it would all be through questions. So there'd be nothing physical that I'd be looking at all, compared to how, my other, well, all the other naturopathic kind of diagnosing or the prescribing of other naturopathic stuff is basically all based on physical stuff. But so the questions I would be asking are all emotional based, how your biggest struggles, what are you going through right now? What are your goals to, like, how would you like to feel? So it would be all based on questioning, and mainly all emotional based questions.
Mm. And do you think that kids are more responsive to flower remedies than adults, or do you think it's about the same?
I think there's a certain type of person where it's about the same. But overall, kids definitely respond quicker. There is a lot less layers of energy to sort of wade through to get things to shift because they've had a lot less time to accumulate what adults have. If we picture that whole onion and we're peeling away those layers to start creating shifts, there's a lot less to peel on kids. So you can generally shift something a lot faster.
Yeah.
Saying that, there are some adults who are very sensitive and they respond to flower essences just as quickly as kids. So I do believe that's more of a constitutional thing, and how open we are with our emotions and how on the surface they are, as opposed to how deeply buried or
Yeah.
suppressed they are.
I remember a woman coming to see me one time and she was quite complex, like she was on multiple medications and there was a lot going on and she hadn't slept a full night in years because of her
Wow.
crippling anxiety.
Wow.
Just it was just so much. I didn't really know where to start. So I just gave her Croea, the flower
Oh, yeah.
Croea, one thing, do that.
Yeah.
She slept that night for the
Mm,
first time in forever.
that's
Just
crazy.
that one thing. And then then you can start to work on the deeper, like all the other complexities as you go. But if someone is sleeping through the night, you're
Yeah. Oh, and also for that person to feel like, oh, there's been a change. I can work on this and trust the practitioner who's helped them straight away.
yeah. Actually, there was another, not that remind me of another adult that I saw again, very complex and very not just skeptical, but very paranoid about anything that I was going to give her. Very
Yes.
untrusting that I was going to give her something that was going to make her worse, yada yada
Yeah.
yada. So again, it just started with a flower essence, and even that, like I really had to talk her into taking it. And again, she
Mhm.
took that flower essence, things started turning around, and then she trusted me because that very
Yeah.
simple thing that she does, okay, like you're
Mm.
you're okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant by when I was in clinic, no one would leave without the flower essence as well as their herbs, because that compliance, when they start to feel different, starts a lot earlier than the physical changes that the herbs and supplements and lifestyle changes might bring about. So just having that initial shift and clearing, at the beginning of a health journey, it's very, very important, I think.
Yeah. So you've always got lots of different blends. Like, what's your favorite blends for kids, or your favorite remedy in general for kids?
Oof. Well, I did package 4 of my favorites into one and called it the Calm Kids pack. So it's very hard for me to choose between those 4. But if I had to, it would have to be help.
Yeah.
Um, just because that's sort of for people who are familiar with the Bach flower remedy rescue remedy. That's kind of my equivalent. It's called Help. And that's sort of my favorite, I think, because there are just so many instances where it can help. It's not just for unraveling that first bit of shift. It's something you can take, lifelong whenever you're needing that more grounding feeling or coming back to your body due to upset or worry or stress. So for mums and kids, it's probably the Help blend. But of course, I love Sweet Dreams so much too, because as you know, sleep is just so important for anyone trying to get on top of any emotional issues or behavioral changes. So getting a bit of help with calming the mind down, which is what our Slow Down blend does too. So I'll be cheeky and tell you my favorite 4 for kids, which are all in a pack. It's Slow Down, Sweet Dreams, Help, and Tantrum Tamer,
Yeah.
which is another popular one. But yeah, if you had to
What,
pick one, grab the Help blend. I wish it was in every household.
what's in the tantrum tamer? Like what flowers are in that?
Well, essences to help with not suppressing. So I always sort of say things like you would take Tantrum Tamer morning and night, just not at the time, not just necessarily at the time, but if you do see a tantrum coming on, I would definitely give it. But like giving it in a regular fashion, morning and night, in some juice or water, can just help kids emote more, get more stuff out at the time. So then there's not that volcanic kind of eruption when something does go wrong, because we know like the major tantrums are like built up emotions that haven't had time to release during the day, or and so just having that kind of constant emotional energy shift really decreases frequency and severity of tantrums in young kids and adults. I say it's for adult sized tantrums too, because there's a lot of adults that don't have time to feel their feelings, and that can, really result in major breakdown kind of things. So yeah, that's how Tantrum Tamer works.
I remember when my kids were little, like so quite a long time ago. I remember when they were having a tantrum. So this is the wrong way to do it. When they were having a tantrum, I was literally chasing them around the house with the rescue remedy, trying to spray it at them. Going,
Yeah, and
yeah,
look,
that's
that
really gonna
actually
work.
works at the time, to be honest, because all that energy that we're putting out is going into our space. So using the mists
Yeah,
to calm down the energy of the space, and that's why we have the 2 ways to use the essences, because you might not be directly impacting them then and there for that tantrum, but you're actually resetting the energy of the room and space, which does flow into feeling calmer
yeah.
after being in that space for a while. Yeah, so you did the right thing.
I didn't. I felt like I was maybe being a bit aggressive with my spray. Like, right, I'll get
Just
you.
put it right in their eyes.
Yeah. Um, so is there any like how will parents know? I mean, I have an answer to this, but how would parents know that their child might need a flower remedy?
If they're got a pulse.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking as well.
No, I'm sorry, you've asked the wrong person that one. Everyone needs help with their emotions, especially in these days. We don't have the time to address everything. We can't be there for every single thing that we might need to be. And your child is going through hundreds of emotions every day. So luckily, if they haven't had any big traumas, they'll be able to get emotions out and moving. But sometimes there might be some slightest shift. They've processed something differently and they think, oh, okay, no, we might not let that out anymore because that has this consequence, or something might happen at daycare or preschool or school, and we're not sure what's changed, because the developmental stages in their brain are just increasing their emotional output like tenfold. So it's like, yeah, if they're alive and breathing,
Yeah.
they could really be supported with a vibrational remedy.
And I know you said you don't recommend them below the age of 2, but can you do other things like apply them topically or put it in the bath or anything like
Bath, definitely, and using the mists.
that? Oh,
So
yeah.
we're very big on using the mist because we have all these energy layers around our body. So taking the blend internally is working on all your internal energy spinning wheels. A lot of people know them as chakras, or just in acupuncture, they're like meridian points where we've got energy meeting. So we've got hundreds of those internally, which is where the flower essences work on. But we've also got 7 layers of external energy layers. So the mists around kind of it's a lot gentler and slower, but it has that effect of going through the outer body energy layers, which will have an effect on the actual inner body energy, just not as strong as if you go straight to the source. So they're a beautiful thing to use as an accompaniment to the blend. So it's like the layering effect, or for kids under 2, using it strictly just around their room, around their person. And yeah, putting the blends in the bath is beautiful. It's like an auric kind of energy shift.
Yeah. And is there any like just amazing stories that you've had with kids when they've used, again, probably too many to talk about, but do you
Too
have
many.
a few like really like good examples of kids who
I should just jump on my reviews. Yeah, there are so many. I mean, I get personal emails and messages daily, and then a lot of people leave them publicly on our website in the reviews section. So I literally have hundreds to choose from. I'm just trying to think if there was something that's really, oh, this one's recent, which is why it's in my head. I got an email about this last week. This was actually because we sell ready-made blends. So we've kind of like, due to me being a mum and having kids and getting them through to teenage years, I've known what essences have worked for what situations. So to make it easier for parents, you just can grab your help or your tantrum tamer or your focus, or um, but we still do custom blends via online questionnaire. And this lady had gotten a custom blend for her daughter, and she was not able to get to school at all. Complete school refusal. This had been going on for months, so they'd started homeschooling, but they weren't in the position work-wise to keep homeschooling. So that's when she reached out to us to get a custom blend done. So after a series of questions, we formulated that, and she wrote to me at the end of last week, just to say that this is the 3rd week now that her girl has been in school every day. So it was a transition of doing, I think they started 2 days to 3 days to 4 days, but she was writing to me at the end of the 3rd week of three full-time weeks back at school, and the emotion in the writing. And I mean, I would love to have heard it in person, but sometimes you can pick that up just in an email, and your heart just goes, oh, just the relief you could hear. And I think to be able to gift that to any parent is pretty special.
Mm. Like we see so many really complex kids, but then there's a lot of really complex kids that would never actually go see a naturopath because they just think my child's too complicated. They belong
Yeah,
firmly in the medical system and nobody else can help.
yeah,
That's the perfect situation where flower essence can help because it's not going to be contraindicated. It's not going to interfere with any other medication.
correct.
It's only, and those are the kids with that trauma that,
Mm,
is then
mhm.
affecting their ability to actually live a nice, happy life.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, there's so many neurodivergent kids out there that can benefit because their ability to emote and communicate and express themselves can sometimes not be as good with their executive function. They're lacking the ways to move that energy and emotion. So flower essences can just be so powerful for them. And I'm a late diagnosed ADHD mum because my daughter was diagnosed a few years ago, and she's now been diagnosed with autism as well. And she's 14, so she's only got the ASD diagnosis at 14, but she's been very good at masking. And I think this might be a bit controversial, but I honestly think we've gotten through so much because of our flower essences without having to get to this diagnosis stage till this sort of point in time, because we've been helping ourselves shifting a lot of emotions. Well, yeah, since my kids were born and since I was very young. So I'm not saying that's, made us, fit more into society or not be like kind of recognized earlier, but it certainly hasn't been a bad thing. We've been helped by our essences, and I'm now on medication, so is my daughter, and we continue to take our blends because they're just such a great emotional support. Because medication is fabulous if it gets you, through life better. It's, I'm never against that sort of stuff, but I always like to keep supporting the emotions, because medication will never do that. Medication is not going to meet any emotional help or need. So just, always keeping in mind that they can be used with whatever and at whatever stage you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think you and I must be about the same age from what you're talking. So what
Yeah.
about for ladies like us? What sort of blends do you have for us?
The perimenopausal years.
I'm still in denial about that, but yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, because we often get those questions too, and I say, hey, look, these don't work on the physical body, so I can't help you. I can't help you with your hot flushes and the brain fog, but we can help with the emotional support, and that does domino into having changes happen in our body. So big recommendation with the female blend. I have a female support pack which has female let it go and help. So those three I find really, I reach for those a lot in this time of my life. They're very, very helpful. Let it go can, be amazing for kids and adults, because we sort of similar to the tantrum tamer, where we're just learning to let things go a bit more as they happen instead of letting them build up. And that means I take my help blend a lot less if I'm if I'm on the let it go. And female is, it's a beautiful blend. A lot of people love using the female mist in conjunction with the female blend too. It's a really nice combo.
And even though you say like it won't help with the hot flushes and whatnot, but actually the hot flushes will be largely mitigated by cutting out coffee and alcohol. And if you can
And
look after your emotional health and your stress levels, guess what? You'll drink less and you'll
well,
drink more coffee. So,
well, exactly. I was going to say, hot flushes are very dependent on, as you know, cortisol and adrenaline and all those things. So it's like, anything we do to support our nervous system, we're going to have benefits in the physical body, aren't we? Because it's like bringing down that inflammation.
yeah, helps everything.
Mhm.
Anything else exciting coming up for Naughty Naturopath Mum?
Well, we just released a brand new mini collection, which was very exciting. That happened last week or the week before, because I've got all these flower essence blends to help support, families. Mum and Magic is another really great one. And, everything you could think of with 28 blends, but I had never put something out to help people start their families. So we have that now. We have a preconception blend called Prepare. We have one to take in pregnancy called Blossom, and one to take during labor and birthing and in the postpartum weeks called Bloom. So that's been our major excitement at Naughty Naturopath this year, because that's been in the works for a good 12 months. So to have those out there now and just have that emotional support for those three very important stages of starting off your family. It's just, we've had some lovely feedback and a lot of practitioners excited about this sort of range. It's a very niche range, but I think not having been out there before, it's been
Yeah.
very needed. Yeah.
Yeah, great time to kind of, look after yourself in those.
Yeah, yep, and just get over emotions that, is very common with sort of times of pregnancy and even preconception. Like, can I do this? Can I be a mum? The fear, the changes that go on in us as we grow a human. Like, there's just so many emotions that need support. So I was like, I wish I had these three blends when I needed them, but at least women might benefit from them now.
Absolutely. So is there any other like big things that you want the listeners to know about flower remedies? Maybe if they're completely new to this whole area, they're kind of interested to dabble. Is there anything that you would want to tell them?
Well, we've got a really good link on our website under the help section, which is all about working with the flower essences. So for new people, I always direct them there because I answer many, many questions that we've fielded over the last 12 years. They're all in one spot. And so that's a great resource to look at. But a lot of people just don't know where to start. I think that's the biggest thing. So we do have a beginner's blend pack, which is literally just help and slow down. Because if I could, yeah, choose to, pick two blends to give everyone, it would be those two. So they're a really nice start for both kids and adults. Our blends are designed for all ages from 2 and up. So even the Calm Kids pack, if the flower essence description suits you, it's still for you. You don't have to be a kid. We just have to market it in a
Yeah.
certain way. But flower essences are amazing like that. You don't need to, be fitting exactly with the right one to get benefit. So if a blend description speaks to you, no matter what it's called, grab it, because it's not the name that matters. It's what are these essences going to help you with, the positive outcome you're looking for.
Mm. So Alicia has kindly offered 10% discount to everybody who listens to this podcast. So the coupon code for that will be in the show notes. So, and the link to Naughty Naturopath Mum website will be there as well. And definitely jump onto Instagram and follow Alicia because it's really a fun Instagram to
Bit
follow.
entertaining, yes. Well, it's the Naughty Naturopath Mum page, so I have to keep in
Yeah.
line with that. Yeah, it's a warts and all share. I just like to keep things a bit raw and authentic because we're always going through our own shit, every single family, every single person, and I don't like when that's not portrayed on social media. So I'm doing my best to reverse that, at least
Yeah.
in my space.
I think that's so important because, you know, I have a lot of clients who I follow on social media and I'm going, gosh, this is like, this is different. So
Yeah.
it's so important for everybody's mental health and well-being that we're actually
Mhm.
being honest about what's happening in our
It's
lives.
Yeah, it's the only way I can feel okay about being on social media because I worry about as a mum, worry about the downsides of it. So, I make my peace with running a business through the online world by showing up warts and all because it makes me feel less guilty that I'm using these platforms. But if I could encourage everyone to share the downs as well as the ups. You just don't feel like sharing that stuff. And I get it. So that's why we get the highlight reels. But every now and again, if you capture yourself and even post it later that, this was tough or this was hard or I'm feeling crap,
Yeah.
then yes, you might reach someone that in that moment that goes, oh God, and they feel seen and they feel less alone.
Yeah. You're such an inspiration, not just with your flower essence, but just like with your business. Like it's just inspirational. So there'll be so many naturopaths listening to this as well who will just look up to you as kind of a leader in terms of just showing that
Oh.
naturopathy is a viable business, I guess.
Oh, that's so lovely. Thank you. They're really kind words. I don't feel like a leader in anything, but I would love if I could lead, it would just to be, it's always progress, not perfection, and just keep showing up as who you are. And you'll always attract who you need to attract if you share yourself, warts and all, I think.
Mm. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people have listened to this and have never even heard of flower remedies before, and now they can jump on to Naughty Naturopath Mum and order themselves some to try. So thank you very, very much, and maybe we'll talk again soon.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. It's been wonderful.
Thanks for tuning in to Holistic Health for Happy Kids. I hope you found today's episode helpful and inspiring on your journey to raise thriving, healthy little ones. Remember, small, consistent changes can lead to big transformations. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other parents who might benefit. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook at The Pediatric Naturopath for more tips, tools, and inspiration. If you've got a question or a topic you'd love to hear about, please send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care and keep supporting your kids in the most natural, nurturing ways possible.